Resume Dizon from BSCE Reg C. This video presentation is for our subject in Physics for Engineers. This topic is all about solving problem regarding elastic collisions. Sample problem in elastic collisions. A 1.60 kg block initially moving to the right with a velocity of 4 meters per second on a frictionless horizontal track collides with a massless spring attached to a second block with a mass of 2.10 kilograms moving to the left with a velocity of negative 2.50 meters per second. The spring has a spring constant of 600 Newton per meter. Letter A. Determine the velocity of the second block at the instant when the first block is moving at the right with a velocity of positive 3 meters per second. Letter B. Find the compression of the spring at that time. Isusulat natin yung conservation of momentum, tapos isusolve yung final velocity of the block 2. Tapos gagamitin yung conservation of energy para mahanap yung compression of the spring. Sa letter A, by conservation of momentum, initial momentum is equal to final momentum. Initial momentum is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2 equals final momentum is equal to m1 v1 prime plus m2 v2 prime. Since ang hinahanap natin is yung v2 prime is equal to m1 v1 plus m2 v2 minus m1 v1 prime all over m2. v2 prime is equal to mass 1, which is 1.60 kilograms, velocity 1, which is 4 meter per second, plus mass 2 na 2.10 kilograms, v1 prime, which is negative 2.50 meter per second, minus m2, which is 1.6 kilograms multiplied by 3 meter per second, which is nasa given, all over mass 2 na 2.1 kilograms. By calculating v2 prime is equal to negative 1.738 meter per second to the left, yung velocity na yan. Sa letter B, find the compression of the spring at that time. By the conservation of energy for the system, initial energy is equal to final energy, whereas yung gravitational potential energy is equal to 0, yung final and initial position. 1/2 m1 v1 squared plus 1/2 m2 v2 squared plus 1/2 kx sub I squared is equal to 1/2 m1 v1 prime squared plus 1/2 m2 v2 prime squared plus 1/2 kx final squared. Makakancel to dahil 0 siya. Ang matitira na lang is 1/2 m1 v1 squared plus 1/2 m2 v2 squared equals 1/2 m1 v1 prime squared plus 1/2 m2 v2 prime squared plus 1/2 kx final squared. Solving for x, ang nahanap is yung 1/2 kx final squared equals, i-equate natin dito sa may formula, equals 1/2 m1 v1 squared plus 1/2 m2 v2 squared minus 1/2 m1 v1 prime squared minus 1/2 m2 v2 prime squared. I-divide natin both sides by k. Makakancel. Tapos, maaalis na din lahat ng 1/2. Matitira is m1 v1 squared plus m2 v2 squared minus m1 v1 prime squared minus m2 v2 prime squared all over k. I-square root natin both sides para maalis yung squared. X final is equal to square root of mass 1, 1.60 kilograms multiplied by velocity 1 squared, 4 meter per second quantity squared plus mass 2, 2.1 kilograms multiplied by velocity 2 squared na negative 2.5 meter per second quantity squared minus m2 1.6 kilogram multiplied by v2 prime squared 3 meter per second quantity squared all over k, which is 600 Newton per meter. By calculating, XF is equal to 0.173 meters. The compression of the spring at that time is equal to 0.173 meters.